All yours, Bonnie and David.
And Eddie. So welcome, everyone. We thought maybe we'd spend no more than a few minutes doing a quick check-in of people sharing in 1 minute or less, and it doesn't have to be everyone, so maybe we'll keep it to about 3 minutes or 4 minutes, so that gives maybe in 30 seconds or less, so that people share how they're feeling and what's causing that feeling as a starting point. Who wants to go first?
Don't forget to unmute.
I can start. I'm Marlies. I feel optimistic, but at the same time, very anxious most of the time. Sometimes I feel like I'm about to have a heart attack. Perhaps it's my personality, but that's how I feel over the last 2 weeks.
And what in really briefly, Marlies, what's creating that optimism, anxiousness for you?
Well, I try to be optimistic because I know at the end everything will be fine, and I'm taking care of my family, and everyone at my work is taking care of themselves. But I'm anxious because it's very hard to be with, husband and kid and being pregnant in the same house and doing homeschooling and doing lunches, snacks, and everything is a lot.
Okay, thank you.
I can go next. I feel a bit more anxious today than I did before.
Okay.
Same here. My name is Yanni. I also feel a little bit anxious.
Sorry, Suliani, did you say you're feeling a little bit anxious? You're breaking up a little bit.
Yeah. That's
And
the feeling like.
mm-hmm. Okay.
Well, I feel, hi everyone. I hope everyone is fine in their homes right now. So for me, this starting today in the morning, everything was fine. But then when I saw all the things that I have to do with my boy, the teacher add more things to him. And it, for me, is very hard to keep doing all his work like the teacher want because his condition. But I can imagine, so she had 3 more assignments and it's gonna be now like 11 per day, and that's overwhelming for me because he don't understand what's going through all the chaos right now, and then he's tired because he's been like 1 hour in the computer and then journal and then a lot of more stuff reading, and it's a lot for them. And I know they need to work, but the teachers are not thinking, listen, mom have to do everything. Mom have to do the cooking, mom have to do all the things in the house, my work, and then adding this. And I'm like, I try to breathe and have the meditation and everything like every morning, but there's a point is overwhelming because he don't understand that, and he had to do it and he don't want to do it. So I said, okay, let me take a deep breath. I take a deep breath, I count on to 10 because my watch remember me that I have to take a breath here when I'm
nice.
Yeah, he told me, you are stressed, relax, take 1 minute, take a deep breath. He told me everything. So that's what I wear all the time. So then I relax, I put music like to meditate, but then I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. I'm tired. And what I had supposed to say to the teacher, you don't want to do it? He don't want to complete that. So yeah, at this point, I'm like, okay, I got this, boss. I have to take control.
Thank you.
Nice.
How old is your son?
My son is 9, but he's autistic. And
Ah,
it's not easy to every day in the weekend that I said, oh, we're going to a park. Now we are not going to a park. So that was his reward. Now what I'm gonna do? Now the reward is the pool, all kinds of things. But he don't understand, and he wanna go out, and we cannot go out because everything is closed. So the other day I put it in the car. He wanna steak and shake in the drive-thru. So I said we can go only in the drive-thru. So we went. I went with him in the car, and I go to the place he wanna go, and I said, you see, it's closed. There's a white paper, it's closed. Do you see any light there? No, mommy. So literally, okay, he drew this to part of the assignment. Say, hi, my name is Yael.
Hi, my name is Yael.
Okay, and I'm doing your?
I'm doing my homework.
Okay, thank you. Go back to your seat. Thank you. So you know.
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you for sharing that. You know, as I see everybody on my screen here, I have this set on gallery view. So in gallery, I have, I don't know, maybe 30 of the pictures, and I have 2 pages. So there's a lot of us here, right? Now,
Yes.
sometimes the tendency, and this is for all of us, right? This is for all of us. Sometimes the tendency is that we tend to partition and see, oh, this person on this corner and this person over here, or this person on the next page is somebody separate from me, right? This is what's happening with me, and this is what's happening over there, right? Or this is what's happening out in the world. And then we have these judgments or assessments about what is, right? I'm going to invite all of us that consider the following. Consider that each of these people that you see on your screen, they're not outside of you. They're inside yourself, right? You have each and every one of these people inside of yourself. So the distance between who you are, yourself, and everybody here in this conversation is very, very tiny because they're inside of you, right? And as you do that, something magical happens that I'm not going to tell you what the answer is, but I hope that you discover it as the conversation progresses. So that's my invitation for all of us.
So thank you, Eddie. I noticed some of the things that seem to be a common theme here is there's this it's like a roller coaster we're on, right? In the 1 minute we're optimistic and everything's great. Next minute we're in overwhelm or anxious. All of these feelings, to a certain extent, are normal. And we invite you to notice them and pay attention so that for those of you who have the watch that can sense how you're feeling and then give you some pointers, for those who don't, to really start noticing this is how I'm feeling, and then what do I do about it? And an interesting question for us is, in this time of uncertainty, where, like, we don't know how long this is going to be, what's happening, what are some things that you can be doing to manage this uncertainty? And the woman, I didn't get your name before, was it you're showing a
Mine, Sharon.
Sharon. So Sharon was saying things like taking deep breaths, counting to 10. What are some other things that you can be doing? Would love to hear from all of you.
Listening to music. Listening to music.
Uh-huh. Listening to music. What else?
Oh, at the end of the day, if you had a pool, go inside the pool and just.
Okay. Let's hear from some people who haven't shared.
I think checking in with other people kind of helps you forget about some other things that are going on.
Mm-hmm.
Playing with the
dog. I know, Sharon, that I feel like I need to find a teacher's hat It's not something I know how to do. And I worry how that's going to impact my daughter's 11. I worry if she's going to fall behind, you know, but I guess all children are going to fall behind. One of the things that I did is I enlisted my niece in California, who's been in high school, who's also quarantined, to see if she could help me with tutoring. And she was happy to do it, and it was something meaningful. And I know all children have very special needs, but it's something that has to get done, right? What do? You have to work with him. So I don't know if you have, you know, older kids in your family who maybe could supplement some of that, you know, so you get a break from it too.
I got it, but the thing is, he's not. Remember, mothers are more patient, and I had to redirect, and he directs. So every time he's lost, and I have to take it back where he goes. So, but yeah, in the other half, she helped me. Is here. She helped me a lot. She's my hero. So yeah, thank you for that.
Nice. Oh, Claudia, what you were sharing there is something, and it ties into what Eddie was sharing too, around you're reaching out to people, like reaching out to a network. You know, there was this old comment, it takes a village to raise a child. Mm-hmm. It takes a village, all of us together, to not just survive this, but to transcend it, to learn and grow together and come out the other side stronger.
For me, like I generally like to execute and get a lot done, and I'm finding joy in cleaning, and like it's meditative. Like I really like it. And like folding laundry, like it's something I used to delegate.
You're still getting things done.
I love it. Like I'm like teaching my son how to fold, and you know, like this is really like silver lining is like all the time I'm getting to spend with my husband and son, and just like finding joy in like going for a 2-3 step walk and like looking at a bird. Like it's really, I don't know, it's just slowed us down, which personally I needed it. So it's just being grateful for those little things. And like going back to basic.
Right. Well, and what you've shared there, Francine, a lot of things. One of them that I caught on to at the end is being grateful. You know, there's a lot of studies out there that talk about the more that you can make it a daily habit of writing down or saying out loud 3 things that you're grateful for is going to shift how you see the situation.
Yep.
You know, another thing in what Francina said has to do with perspective. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of different ways we can look at this. I remember once, a long time ago, someone said to me, which at the time seemed stupid, was, all you have to do today is what you have to do today. It's like, huh? And I kind of looked at it like, you know, I'm just going to get done what I'm going to get done. And life is going to go on. You know, in the end, no one's ever asked to look at my GPA. All these students are in the same ballpark here. No one's life is going to go into turmoil if they miss an assignment or if your house isn't as clean as you want. You know, it's looking at, well, what's really important, you know, in the end. And that taking that time to reflect in ways that we normally don't. You know, it's conversations you don't normally have, reflections you don't normally have. I'm sure it didn't occur to Francina to teach her kids how to clean as one of her priorities. And it turns out working out.
What is a silver lining of all of this that's happening? What is a benefit, an unexpected?
Eddie, but before we get into that, because I think that's a great question, can we just maybe peel back a few more tactics that people are doing? Because I'd love to hear from a few more people. Is that okay?
Yeah.
I see someone with a pet.
Yeah, I recently switched around my working area, and now I have a supervisor hanging out with me. It was kind of also bring your pet to Zoom day, so it worked out. But all she does is sleep, like she's not at like Chester that you can just rough up his ears, or like dogs are friendly. She's just there, and it's okay.
Nice. I see somebody else with a puppy or a dog on her lap.
Here's my puppy Clara. She's hanging out here. She loves being here. So while I'm working, she just pop out here and cuddling a little bit.
Beautiful. You have no idea how many people have mentioned to me that recently a dog or a pet passed away. So they find themselves not with their loved one, their child in a way, next to them. And we're so lucky. I have a doodle, a golden doodle here at home, and it's very different when you have somebody like that or a pet to be with you during a time of having to stay at home. Very nice.
What are some other people doing?
I would say I've been able to cook a lot or try a lot of the recipes that I haven't been able to do in a while. So I found that there's a lot of things that I'm able to do that I hadn't been before. So just taking a lot of advantage of food.
Great. Thank you for sharing that, Christina, because my son and I are vegan. And so we've been experimenting with all different kinds of vegan foods now. And hoping to convince my husband, their dad, to join us. So it's fun and it's very relaxing. We put on music, we dance while we're cooking.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, I've been baking and taking walks. I try to take at least, like walk a mile a day. Not a lot, but enough to clear my head.
Right. Well, you're lucky because I guess where you are, you're able to do that walking, right, Adriana? Some places I understand you guys can't walk very far.
It's a gated neighborhood, so I can go around. If I go twice around it, I do the whole mile. So.
Okay. Eddie, did you want to jump in with your question now?
I almost forgot what the question is. Something
What's
about
the silver lining?
What's the silver lining, right? Because there is a benefit to this happening in our history right now. We don't know what that is exactly. We can only speculate. But if we search for what is the silver lining, what is the benefit, what is the positive outcome here for ourselves in our own individual lives, and also collectively for us as a company, as a tribe, as a country, right? What do you see as the silver lining that you're experiencing?
As a company, I feel that we are more united than ever. So that's really good feeling. And personally, I am able to spend more time with my son and my husband, like eating lunch and dinner, which normally it doesn't happen. So I think that for now, under the circumstances, this is good. And I feel very strongly united with my team and outside of my team as well.
Nice. Thank you, Marilise. Who else?
This is really odd because I have a 25-year-old but I've always worked, ever since I left high school. And it's a strange thing, but I feel like a mom for the first time. Marilise, I'm cooking. I didn't used to cook every day, and now we do. And everybody's home for dinner. We sit down and eat together, and it just feels like what a family should be.
Yes. Thank you.
Another thing I experience is that you pay attention to every detail that you missed a long time ago, and you contemplate more moments
in family.
Exactly.
I wanted to share that I was listening yesterday to she's a Buddhist teacher, Tara Brach, and she was mentioning that to me, what she said made a lot of sense, is that to break patterns, you need to pause. So I think, at least to me, this has allowed me to break a lot of patterns and notice a lot. And so it's like an inward process to break patterns.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Nice.
Yeah, I think there is like a mental skill of developing, at least in my side, of being aware of, you know, why am I feeling this way, and questioning. I have so much time to question why am I feeling this way and notice the pattern between my emotions. And I think it's a little bit more in the philosophical aspect of it, but I think it has helped me, you know, I don't know, coping mechanisms of emotions, and just looking at the emotion and not attaching to how I'm feeling, just like let it pass instead of let that emotion define my experience. Is just, okay, tomorrow will be a better day, and that's not me, that's just an emotion, and just walk away. So I think that has been a little bit of a silver lining for myself.
You know, I want to add something to what you're sharing, Aurora, and this may be too theoretical. If it is, tell me and I'll shut up. And it ties into something Idalisa was saying about this woman, Tara Brach, who's a wonderful meditative guru. She has this thing called RAIN, is the acronym. And R is, I think it's to reflect and recognize the emotion you're feeling, to really notice it. A is to acknowledge it. So once you've reflected, you're actually acknowledging it. I is to investigate, which requires that space and time to kind of go deep inside and say, what is it that I'm feeling? Where's it coming from? What's driving it? And when you get that deep wisdom of investigate, you can then, N is nurture. So what's my body calling for? What do I need in this moment? And I know I personally have been playing with this concept for a week and a half. I've been sharing it with David and Eddie, how it's been such an emotional roller coaster. And rather than fighting it, I'm kind of embracing it and saying, what's the insights and the learning for me, for the people I'm interacting with, for my clients? I don't know if that's helpful for any of you as a kind of a process.
Yeah, actually, I like mindfulness, and I think that's one of the basics of mindfulness. And you know, I think it's already been like 3 or 4 years that I've been reading about mindfulness and trying to practice it. And this moment has been very key to just like actually 100%, you know, go through the process.
That's great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Other silver linings that people notice?
I've brought out my inner child. I've sat with my son he loves building with blocks and Legos. So I've just sat with him to build castles and play and do voices and characters, something that I hadn't done a long time ago with him. So that has been great.
Nice.
Nice.
Can you demonstrate one now?
Oh, not right now. Well, no, not really. No.
Okay.
No. The last thing that we built was like a teepee house for him. And
wow.
We put blankets and we put Christmas lights in it. We saw that in Pinterest. So that's the last thing that we built, and I can't carry it here. but yes, we've just sat on the floor and built a lot.
Lovely.
Let me just observe here that as humans and as leaders, because everybody in this call is a leader, our tendency is to want to create, right? We create with our families, we create with our kids. Francina gave an example of creating how we fold laundry, right? We're always creating in some way. The question that we have to ask ourselves is, what am I creating at this moment? And is it contributing in some way? Is it helpful? Right? So other silver linings, whatever you're noticing.
I just want to suggest in what Eddie just said, in what we create, we can create things like castles with your children, and also what we're creating on our interiors, like mindfulness and reflection and, you know, a sense of being and presence. So that's no small thing in really taking the time to look at what we're creating moment to moment.
I think it's an interesting roller coaster because there's like fear, and then like your loved ones and the people you know and the news, and then there's gratitude for things that you had that you know taken for granted, like just fresh air, and having meals. And so it's an interesting situation we're in right now, and like being okay with like today I had a meeting, a really important one, it was mine and I wasn't ready and I moved it, and I'm okay with it. It's like it's just gonna have to wait a few days. But yeah, I think the silver lining here is there's lots of it, but it's also knowing where that balance is, because it's a very real situation that's happening. Lots of people are struggling. So like being mindful of that as well, I think is important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think someone earlier in the call was saying reaching out to people. Oftentimes, if we can give back to others and be mindful and help, it also shifts that perspective that David was sharing. It actually is a way of taking power in an environment that you may feel you're powerless in. There's a really strong shift that you can make. I can choose how I want to be. I can choose how I want to see this. And what do I want to do with this time?
Somebody else. What are you noticing?
I have something to share.
Okay.
So in my case, what I believe I've been building or creating is more resilience. In my case, I've gone through many changes in a fast pace and short time. So I've been able to adapt to each new change and get ready for the next. I've been feeling more comfortable being out of my comfort zone.
Can you share a little bit more, Francis, about what you were doing specifically that had you build the resilience?
So in 6 months, I've been through about 2 personal changes in my life. Besides that, I began a new work in Abarca, but I had to move in order to start working in Abarca. So that was 2 big changes in one. And it's been change after change, but I've been able to overcome those changes.
Right. And how were you able to overcome them? As you reflect back?
I would have to say that the first thing that comes to mind in order for me to know how to adapt is to ask myself what would be best for me to do.
Nice.
So based on that, I then start to accept or to modify in a way how to accept those changes.
Nice. I'm going to invite everyone here, based on what Francis just shared, to look inside yourself and find resilience inside of you. Find that spot inside of you where resilience lies. right? And just give some attention to it. Because what Francis shared is also inside of each of us, right? And Francis just was the loudspeaker, the megaphone to let us know that this is already inside of us and we have it too. And we can continue to build and create and nurture it.
And to add to what Eddie's sharing, the reason I was asking Francis what was it that he was doing, we each access it differently. So the more that we can get really clear on what is it, like in Francis's case, he was asking, what do I need to be my best, I think was sort of what you were saying. So we each have our own way of accessing it. And there's an opportunity here to experiment and try different things that will have us all tap into that resilience.
Would somebody else like to share? What are you creating now?
I would like to share something. I am creating right now a better me. I think that I have enough time to think about what are my great things that I have in my personality and what are my areas of opportunity, which are not the best ones. And now it's like Aurora was saying later, like before, I have enough time. So every time I do something that I feel bad about it, I just take my time and say, okay, Adriana, what did you do? Why do you feel about this? And how can you make it better? And this quarantine has helped me have more patience and just identify maybe trigger points that can make me feel in a certain way. And I think it's more like preparing myself for when we get back to the daily life in the new normal. I think that having this time is going to, I'm sorry, I got confused. Having this time just gave me the opportunity to become a better version. So when I get back to everybody and socialize, everything is gonna be like different. So yeah, something like that.
That's great. Adriana, have you had your why discovered?
Yes.
What's your why?
Contribute.
Ah, okay. I thought it was actually a different one from what you were sharing. I wonder if there's a strong how of makes sense in there. What's really cool that came out of this, as I was thinking, I'm just throwing it out there as something for everyone to think about. As we're looking at building our resilience, creating a better version of ourselves, this is a time where each of us can tap into our essence, that gift. So for those of us who have had our why discovered, to be able to tap into it and say, how can I bring this to life and really embody it more now and into the future? What do people think about that? We'd love to hear from some people who haven't shared.
What was the question, Bonnie?
What do you think about tapping in at this time, using your why as it's kind of like your guide for finding your best self and really living from that place? I'm just curious what people's thoughts are about that for those who've had their why done.
I'll give an example.
Yes.
Me being a make sense.
Thank you, David.
I just naturally look at all the chaos and even the paradox of seeing the best in people and the worst in people. And when I look to make sense of it and tap into, I'd say, the light side of my why, I look at the good things that are happening. You know, there's less pollution in the world right now. People in Venice can actually see in the canals and see fish. They haven't been able to do that in 100 years. You know, it's the first time globally the entire world is united on one thing. You know, we have a society that's tuned in all the time to everything, and now we're talking to each other.
That's perfect. A more individual example, for example, I'm a Y of trust. So when I'm with people, even though it's not communicated verbally, energetically, just by the presence and by the space that we hold, and each of us can do this as leaders, we create a space, an energy, whatever you want to call it, that lets the other person know that they're valued, they matter, they can contribute in whatever way makes sense for them, right? And so my approach is to Bonnie's question about how we use our why to create. I want to create more trust in the world. I want to create more collaboration. I want to have each other's backs, right? And everywhere I go, that's what I bring, right? So how do you leverage your why to create, to build something in the world?
So I want to share something to answer the question about the why and how I tie it to how I managed change the past 2 weeks. So I think this is the first time that I'm going to share this. So the past 2 weeks, I focus almost 100% on enjoying working from home, because for me, I really like it. I think it's a great. I think it works. And I actually was sharing with my team that I discovered that I enjoy not isolation, but social distancing more than I thought. So I was solely focusing on that and not so much on COVID or not even the news, not listening to a lot of news. And I was sort of like capitalizing on that positive change in my life for the past 2 weeks. At the beginning, and then during that time, I guess what I try to do is not listen to others, but not necessarily talk about anxiety or just probably talk about that I'm happy, how happy I am. Let's just go, just enjoy the sun, looking at the bright side. And I saw that as my contribution, trying to not add to the fire, if you will. I don't know if I succeeded, but at least that's the way I saw it. And that I think that's the way I saw my why being displayed during the past 2 weeks.
And that's how you're contributing.
Yeah.
By making sense of things.
Yeah.
Thank you, Marta. Anyone else?
You're getting cut off.
I'd like to share a lousy connection lately.
Sorry, can you say that again? I think you're...
What I want, can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, what I basically wanted to share is one of my virtues, I thank God, is that I'm able to get up and go from falling down and collapsing. And if I were to be depressed, maybe a day or two or a few hours, but I always rise up again. And I guess the only reason why I stand once more up and rise each time is because I know there's a lot of good in this world, and there's a lot of good to be done. And there's a lot of good people out there that need our help. And just the idea of being able to support others physically, mentally, in any which way, that is, I guess, what helps me get up each day.
Nice.
And like I said, I thank God every day because I am able to, no matter how many times I've fallen, to get up. If I'm stressed, it lasts maybe a couple of hours or a day, and then I'm back to normal again. And that's something I wish everybody would be able to do. It's difficult, especially in times like this. But it's not self-taught. It takes time, takes years for many people. But you can survive it. You can proceed each day. And there's always a silver lining behind every dark cloud.
Right.
Yes. It sounds like you're being resilient.
That's
Right.
what I wanted to share.
I just want to add really quickly that these coffee breaks are really cool. And like, even if we weren't quarantined, like we should do this, like, cause I don't, people on here, like I never see, like I go on the 4th floor and like, it's so cool to like see people and hear from people that we never do this.
Right. I noticed that we have about 3 minutes left. I'm wondering if somebody figured out their answer to my question. If all of these people were inside of you, what are you noticing?
Unity.
Unity. Yeah.
At a distance, but unity.
Uh-huh. Anything else?
Like family. Yep.
Yes.
Very true.
Exactly.
You know, Francina, you mentioned we should do this more often. So here's a challenge for you guys. Since you have so much free time. No. Is to think about how can we continue to capitalize on this opportunity. This is a time of great possibility. And what can we each do individually and collectively to continue to support each other, to bring each of us into each other, as Eddie was sharing, and continue it now, because for the foreseeable future, we're going to be in this situation. And then going back when things are loosened. Are there any requests that anybody wants to make of anyone before we complete on the call?
So I request we give a big shout out to all the Abarcans, who are the most awesome people ever, that are doing it this way.
Yes.
Because you guys are special.
Yeah. Not every company does this. So kudos.
And to add to that, I want to share, I shared what you guys are doing with 3 friends of mine who are heads of HR in healthcare companies in Canada. And they were shocked that you guys are doing this. And they're saying, how can you do this? And I said, because this company is like no other company on the world. And you guys need to figure out how to do this as well. Like, there's this energy in this community, even though you're all just pictures on a screen. There's a sense I get, and this is my clarity coming out, there's a sense I get of love and compassion, and we're all in this together, that I think deserves a celebration. And a special shout out to all the people who have organized this and are keeping it going.
Beautiful.
You guys rock.
Thank you for being part of this and for supporting us too through this process with your presence. And I think these sessions, as Francina said, they've been good to connect people even during this time. And even if people are busy and they log in for 10, 15, half an hour, I think it's a good way to see other people that we don't normally see around the office. So. And we don't get to see you that often either, so we appreciate you participating.
Beautiful.
So on that note.
See you Wednesday.
See you Wednesday.
Love you
Bye,
guys.
everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Have a good day.
Thank you.